Hi, everybody. I'm Mikaela Shiffrin. I'm a World Cup Alpine ski racer, and I'd love to be their speaking person. Right now, it's a little bit awkward because I'm looking at a screen. I'm really looking at myself, and I can't see the audience. So it's just a little bit of that's what we're dealing with these days, I guess. But I do have to say, I think it's so cool how people have figured out during this time to use technology and make this kind of thing work virtually. So I'm really, really excited to be speaking today. This event really struck a chord with me because art has had such a positive impact on my life, and not just my life, but my career and my mind, my whole mindset. I've learned some things along the way through ski racing that have translated into every aspect of my life, and that I think could help others in their own lives. I hope you're able to take something away from maybe some of these experiences I've had, and that they may help you bring more positivity, passion, and happiness into your own life. I've gone through a lot of different phases in my career so far. I've been racing for about on the World Cup for about 9 years, and I guess this will be my 10th. And I still have, a lot to learn, I'd say. But when I started out, I was 16 years old, and at that point, I felt really no pressure when I was racing. My first World Cup race, I almost wasn't even nervous. I was maybe a little excited, but I didn't feel the kind of pressure and expectations that I started to feel after I started having a little bit more success. And then expectations from the outside grew, expectations that I had of myself grew as well. There were a couple years after the 2014 Sochi Olympics that I had real performance anxiety. I had some difficult races for an entire season. Almost every single race, I would get to the start and totally freeze. My eyes would start watering. I'd feel like I had to gag, or like my throat was closing and I couldn't breathe anymore. This happened almost every single race for an entire season, about 3 minutes before I was actually supposed to go and race my run. And dealing with that was something I'd never experienced before. I never expected to experience, because when I was younger, I didn't feel pressure. I just felt like, oh, this is something I love to do. I love ski racing, so this isn't a big deal, right? I never expected that I would be somebody who was completely petrified by pressure and by performance anxiety. But I went through a phase of that, and I had to learn how to control my mind and my emotions and stress. You heard Drake just before me talking about how you have to have this sort of inner sense of intimacy, an inner sense of love and confidence in yourself before you can really let anybody else love you or be confident in you. And that goes along with learning to control your own mind and control your own emotions, and realize that you are your emotions and you are in control of your emotions. I had to go through a process of learning that. I'm still going through that process. I had a couple years ago, 2018, 2019 winter, I had the best season of my career, the most enjoyable season of my career, also stressful. But the way that I worked with my team, we managed the season really well. And I found it, even if it was stressful, I loved it. I really felt like I got back in touch with my passion for the sport. And then the next season, this past winter, I had more expectation because I had just had the best season of my career, and more expectation. There was more outside expectation. And with that came more pressure and anxiety. So it's really a process. It's a learning process. process, and I'm still learning and building the tools that are going to help me deal with the ups and downs that life and my skiing career has to offer. Something I always try to remember is that I feel these emotions because I love what I do, because I care, and that's not a bad thing. But sometimes it can really hurt. It's important to seek out the things that you care about, because then your passion becomes like a pair of wings that will carry you through the most difficult times and give you a sense of motivation and determination that feels like a tailwind propelling you along and really allowing you to soar. When you're passionate about something, working at it doesn't feel like work. It's not always easy, and there will always be pieces of it that are not really enjoyable and maybe do feel like work a little bit. But the thing itself, that just makes you feel free. And all the work around it, it's totally worth it when you get that feeling. That's the point when whatever you are doing becomes art. The key to making life be art is passion. And there are a million different forms of art: drawing, painting, music, movement, dancing, sports, photography, making jewelry. The list goes on and on forever, because art is a really personal thing, and it's really what you want it to be. I love music. I think everybody pretty much can relate to that. I took piano lessons when I was really little, and I didn't love the structure of playing songs that I was supposed to play, or even reading the musical notes. I really just wanted to know enough to play around with my own tunes and melodies. By this point, I've forgotten how to read music, but I still go to my keyboard and I make up melodies on the piano, on the keyboard. Sometimes I even make lyrics. Sometimes I'll listen to a song on the radio and I love it so much that I just have to sit down and learn how to play it. And about 10 years ago, I started to learn how to play guitar, because one of my friends at the ski academy that I attended let me use her guitar. And she taught me a few chords. She taught me how to use the internet, use online guitar tabs to learn songs. And then I got really, really into learning how to play covers of my favorite songs. One of my favorite things to do is to take a song that I think is great and strip it down to my own acoustic version. And it's like I can take a trip into the mind of whoever wrote that song and feel what they might have been feeling at the moment when they wrote it. It's like looking at a picture that you took from some memory, some experience, and you look at that picture and you can transport yourself back in time to that moment, except for I get to look at the picture, a snapshot of somebody else's mind. That's something I really fell in love with, that form of expression, and being able to experience someone else's expression. Now I have this little Banger Crown campfire guitar that I travel with. And often after my races, when I'm super wired and still hyped up on the day, I'll sit down with my little ding around guitar and learn a new song. And that's one of the things that helps me wind down the most after the excitement of race day. Playing the piano, learning guitar, and even writing my own songs has become such an amazing outlet. And it's become a tool that I use to take my mind off life when it's stressful or frustrating, or to channel those thoughts and feelings on a deeper level, so I can really feel them. And then I can move forward rather than getting stuck in that emotion. Having said that, not everybody has a piano or a guitar or any kind of instrument. So some kinds of art and expression are a little bit harder to access. But there are so many different kinds of art, so many different ways to express your creativity and express yourself. So if you're not able to do, or you don't like to do one thing, there is 100% certainly something else that you are able to do and that you might love. I think a lot of people consider movement to be art in the form of dancing, but not necessarily other kinds of movements like sports. you know, you may look at like dance and yoga and think, oh, that's sort of artistic. But if you look at some other kinds of sports, maybe even ski racing, you don't necessarily think, oh, that's art. I completely think of sports as a form of art. One of the things that has drawn me to sports as an art form is the fact that there are certain guidelines, there are rules, but within those guidelines, you have the freedom to be creative and work in whatever way you deem necessary in order to improve and get faster and get stronger and get better. When you watch someone like Roger Federer play tennis or Michael Jordan dunk, working within that set of guidelines of their sport, but creating something amazing and so beautiful within it. Sure, it's a sport, but I can only really describe that as art. But you don't have to be Michael Jordan to experience sport like that. You just have to love what you're doing. It's as simple as that. Skiing has always felt like my own personal art form. I love it. I study it. I practice it. And when I ski, it feels like I'm writing a song or painting a picture or expressing my own body. And the art is in the feeling that it gives me. I've gotten this feeling from a lot of different kinds of sport and movement: tennis, soccer, dancing, running. There's so many ways that we can use our bodies as an expression of creativity. And when you find the thing that clicks with you, the thing or things, it's amazing and healing and therapeutic. And it brings this whole different sense of positivity and excitement into your life. These last few months, one of the hardest things has been how limited we all are to go outside and be active and move. And it's probably had a much broader and deeper effect on everyone than we even realize at this point. But what I'm hoping is it's also going to help us all realize how important it is for us to be able to express ourselves through movement. Obviously, there are benefits to your physical health. If you exercise, it's good for you, right? But right now, I think the more important benefits are for our minds. I've certainly felt that because movement, sport, exercising is part of my job. And I'm really lucky because even on the days when I don't feel motivated to move, I have to if I want to succeed. Not everyone has to move for their job. Most people are actually required to sit in one place, whether it's at a desk doing homework or in an office. A huge part of most people's lives is sitting still inside. And when you add watching TV in the evening, streaming your favorite shows, sitting on the couch, it just piles on top of itself. So it becomes even more important for your own mood to pick yourself up and get out the door, even if all you're able to do is go for a 20-minute walk or go into your driveway and stretch for 15 minutes. Just getting outside and moving has such an amazing impact on not only your physical health, but the way you perceive the world, the way you think of yourself, the way you feel. The endorphins, the adrenaline kicks in, and all of a sudden you just feel a little bit better. Throughout my career, I've learned also a lot about the importance of sleep and sleep hygiene and how that also affects your perception of everything that's going on around you. With so much access to the internet, TV streaming, smartphones, all that kind of thing, it can be so easy to start a binge in bed and all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. and you wake up the next morning, if you ever actually fell asleep, tired and moody. I've done this, even as a professional athlete, knowing the importance of sleep as a recovery method. I've still done this. But I've learned how that affects my own attitude and the way that I react to people around me. And that's what's within my control. That's what's within your control. Lack of sleep increases anxiety, irritability, paranoia, sensitivity. It also impacts my ability to perform, focus, and enjoy what I'm doing and even the sport that I love. On the other hand, making sure that I have enough sleep gives me better control of my emotions, my focus, and the way I perceive and react to the people and events happening around me. There have been so many studies on sleep hygiene over the years that highlight a few key things that help sleep. Keeping your bedroom a calming environment, that's really important one for me. Think of the place that you sleep as sacred, and you have to do your best not to let anything taint your sleep sanctuary. Calming colors and smells in your room can make a difference. Trying not to use your phone or computer right before you try to fall asleep at night. A big thing for me is keeping my bedroom at a cool temperature so I don't wake up in the middle of the night from getting too hot. And I know that's not always easy to do during the summer, especially if you have allergies, but if you can get a fan blowing in your room and keep a draft of fresh air running through it, then that can really, really help you sleep better, more soundly throughout the entire night. I know not everyone is a Taylor Swift fan, but I do think she's one of the most creative musicians of our generation in her ability to shift between genres of music and write so many different styles of songs. I've heard an interview where she said one of her songs came to her when she was sleeping. A lot of her songs have actually been inspired by dreams or thoughts she had in the middle of the night when she was sleeping. I thought it was super interesting to hear that she comes up with hit songs while she's not even conscious, because it's such a good example of how sleeping actually allows people to be more creative and be more productive. In this case, it allows one of the most famous musicians in our history to write the songs that make her famous. It's often the moments when you think you've turned your brain off or your mind off when you actually have the greatest bursts of creative inspiration. Sometimes you have to take a moment to reset, especially when it feels like things aren't working or things are going wrong. It could be as simple as taking a nap, but your brain is a muscle. And just like your muscles need to be used and rested, your brain also needs time to recover so it can get stronger and handle the stressful and frustrating moments better. A few summers ago, I started getting into an intense TV drama show and had a little bit of a dark, scary tone to it. I'm not big into horror, so it wasn't terrifying, but it was just a little bit moody. Some episodes gave me bad dreams or kept me awake at night. And I started to notice a pattern that whenever I watched an episode, my mood would change for the next few hours or even for the whole day. I'd get this feeling of hopelessness. As the race season began, I continued to watch the show, and I still felt like it was affecting my mood and sometimes even my attitude on the hill when I was training or racing, but I didn't want to stop watching it, of course. At one of my races that season, we were in Sweden, and during that time of year, it stays pretty dark pretty much all day up there because it's so far north. So between watching this show and having that dark, moody thing going on, and then being in the darkness for almost 24/7 for an entire week that we were up in Sweden for those races, my mood was not great. On the morning of the race, I felt really low energy. I felt sad and distracted and just like in a haze. I felt like I wasn't really in control of my own body, almost as if I hadn't really woken up and I was still in a dream. During my warm-up run before the race, I wanted to shake out that low energy feeling. So I pushed really hard, harder than I normally would during my warm-up, and I crashed and I got hurt. I injured my knee. I ended up missing more than half the race season while I was recovering from that injury. And as I reflected on the days and moments leading up to that crash, I realized one thing, that one TV show was affecting me. It was changing my mood and my attitude, which then interrupted my sleep pattern, which was what led me to feeling groggy and hazy on the day of the race. After that, I made a rule for myself that I would not watch any TV shows that affected my mood in that kind of way during the race season. Instead, I started watching uplifting shows that I'm familiar with, so I know what to expect and I'm less likely to want to binge them. During my best season of my career, the night before every single race, I watched one episode of my favorite TV show, Friends. I know that it makes me smile, it takes my mind off stress and pressure, and it actually helped me to sleep better and wake up more alert and with a more positive attitude every single morning. You might find, what I found is that when I go to bed and I tell myself tomorrow's going to be a good day, the next morning I wake up with a better feeling in mind. A lot of people have said this, a lot of experts have said that, especially about sleep hygiene. If you go to bed thinking tomorrow's going to be a good day, I can make tomorrow a good day, then when you wake up, you have a better perspective on what is possible during that day. And watching this TV show helped me get that mood going. It starts when you fall asleep. It starts the night before the next day. That adjustment in the environment that I allowed around myself made a huge difference in my general mood, my happiness, and my overall success in my races. And I still follow that rule to not watch dark shows during the season. Definitely, sometimes there's times outside the season that I don't watch them as well, because if I'm feeling particularly down, then I'm like, nope, I'm not going to be able to handle that right now. With TV, streaming apps, social media, music, the internet, there's so much information we're processing every single moment of the day, and we don't even realize it. People are so extremely affected by the environment and mood around them and whatever we're processing in that particular moment. So it's really important to realize that, because then you can learn how to control it. Music is another example of this. Do you have specific songs that remind you of certain people or certain experiences? Have you ever had moments where you feel pretty good, but then a particular song comes on that reminds you of some specific person that you miss, or a moment of your past that makes you sad, and all of a sudden you're crying? 2 minutes ago, you were fine, you were happy, and now you're crying. That happens to me often. Driving along in the car, I have my playlist on shuffle and a song comes on and my mood is totally different. That's music. Music is a really powerful tool that can help us feel things more deeply. It can also help us to drive and control our own mindset and emotions, or it can take control of us. I have specific playlists based on different emotions and moods. A calm playlist, pump up, pensive, mindless, study playlist. The great thing about music streaming apps these days is a lot of these playlists already exist and are updated with the latest music. So you don't have to create the playlist yourself. But I do find that to be therapeutic and healing and even fun to go through my own music and create my own playlist, as like recording a piece of my own personality into that playlist. It's a true reflection of yourself. So I find that process to be really fun, but it's convenient that with a lot of streaming apps, it's done for you. Every season, I create a new race day playlist, and I make sure it only contains my absolute favorite upbeat songs, the kind of songs that make me want to dance or make me feel really good and strong, the kind of songs that go along with the closing of my favorite inspirational movies. If I start to associate any song on that playlist with something that makes me feel sad or anything other than pumped up, really, I immediately take it off the playlist. I want to be able to put that playlist on shuffle and or repeat for the entire race day. Never get bored of it, and never be blindsided by a song that comes on and makes me feel anything but ready to race. On the flip side, sometimes I might be feeling a little down and I just really want to let it out. So I put on some music that goes with the vibe that I'm feeling, and I feel it. I really feel it. But I try to set a time limit on that and move on, because it's so easy to let yourself get into a funk that's really hard to get out of. So feel it. Be honest with yourself there. Let it happen. Dive deep into those emotions, but set yourself a limit so you can move past it too. As much as I love ski racing, and I've had so many amazing moments in the sport so far, it has been difficult to manage the emotional highs and lows. The great moments are really incredible, and the tough moments feel like the end of the world. A lot of people feel this kind of emotional roller coaster in life. It's really a part of the journey. And I just think it's really important to find a few key things that help you keep your balance through it all. All of these things I've talked about, music, movement, sleep, controlling your environment, it's all helped me to keep my balance through the great moments and the most difficult moments in my career and in my life. Moments when I feel extra pressure, like at the Olympics, moments when I feel like I've let the world down if I don't have a good race, or even worse, moments when I feel like I've let myself down. And while I'm speaking from experiences competing in front of the world, that doesn't make my feelings or experiences any more valid than yours or anyone else's, because everyone experiences these same feelings. No matter what you do, every single human faces pressure, frustration, happy moments, sad moments, excitement, disappointment, triumph, tragedy, and everything in between. And it is all real. Whether you're a pop star or you're a professional athlete or you're working in an office or you're taking a math test, remember that real is your life and what you are experiencing in that exact moment. So do yourself the kindness to take what you've learned during this event and take the tools you gather throughout life and use those tools and those art forms to help you manage whatever life might throw your way. There is this ever-present question in my mind. Sometimes other people are asking it, and sometimes I'm asking myself, am I happy? It's not always an easy question to answer, because you cannot be happy and positive and excited about everything all of the time. So it really depends on how you're feeling in the exact moment when you're asking yourself that question. Honestly, I've not been very happy recently. My family's faced a lot of loss this year. And adding the situation with COVID on top of that, sometimes it's really hard not to feel completely helpless. I think a lot of people are feeling that way. What I've been realizing throughout this process of learning how to live in a world with a pandemic, especially after losing my Nana in October and my dad in February, is that it's okay not to feel okay. It's okay not to be happy all the time. It's okay to feel helpless sometimes. It's all okay. You are doing okay. There's so much pressure. There's so much to do. There's so much to manage and learn and handle. And it can all be really overwhelming. So right now, it's challenging just to find purpose. And that's where art can really, really help. That's where music and movement and dancing and drawing and painting and running and hiking in the mountains and enjoying the beautiful place where we live, being outside, just spending some time to think, read a book, learn something new, just do something that you enjoy. All of these things I've talked about and all of these things that you can do, things that have helped me, maybe they have helped me now more than they've ever helped me before. And I just urge you over the next few months and however long that this current situation lasts with COVID and with our having to wear masks and lack of social interaction and all of these things that are making life seem so overwhelming and so pressure filled, I encourage you to find your art form that clicks, the tools that will help you, because they're not only going to help you now, but for the rest of your life. And this isn't going to last forever. So it's only going to get better and easier. Right now, you're being tested for your strength, and working on those strengths is only going to make the rest of your life something that you can manage so much easier. So find your forms of art, and they'll help you, whether it's winning an Olympic medal, whether it's passing the math test, or just getting through a day in your office cubicle. Every part of it is real. Every part of that is valid. It's all life, and it's yours. So you can make it what you want it to be. You can make it something that you're passionate about, and you can have tools that will help you get through it all. And I hope you're able to do that. And I'm really, really happy to have had the opportunity to speak at this event, because it's an amazing opportunity for me. And I still can't hear anything. So
Mikaela, if you can hear, we all give you a big round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to open up. We have a couple minutes left. If anybody has any questions for Mikaela, please ask me now, and we will get her answers real quick. All right. Well, thank you guys all for coming. Mikaela, once again, thank you so much for joining us and for talking about your experience. Let's give one more round of applause.
thanks, guys.
All right, so before we wrap up, we just want to do one more round of thank yous, very importantly to Mountain Youth and the Red Ribbon Project for putting this event on and helping make this possible. Thank you so much. And thank you again to all of our sponsors. We want to give a super special shout out thank you to Eagle Valley Behavioral Health, Alpine Bank, and Communities Get That Care. Thank you so much. Now, thank you all guys for being here. Please don't forget to grab a swag bag on your way out and be well. Thank you all for watching virtually or in the recorded. We'll see you guys very soon. Thank you very much.